too busy working.
You know, I took
Maybe we
one,
finish attacking my.
I took one
I
last
should still add to it too.
But I,
I can still add to it.
are we gonna come Thursday or not? Is it gonna be open? It's the Basic Center's gonna be open anyway. It was closed last week.
Yeah, I
I
might
mean,
be,
I may have taken two with
Linda
the
won't
last
be
two.
there,
I might be talk to Conder or all just
but I
about.
need to be there. But it was good that I didn't go, cause I sure did.
Really? So you didn't even go to the others?
Pardon?
My mother had.
Oh, yeah, I felt better the next, you know, but I
She
stayed
was,
in.
I mean, yours, I've never noticed yours.
But I just had to miss that stuff, and I don't know on it. Anyway, that was it. I don't like to be sick. So, and I like to stay in bed, you know, I still.
That's when you want to do something.
They get me up and like, you know, to come over here, I have to come early.
And me, it's my left hand, which helps, you know.
I need more sleep.
But I, you know, if you're picking up a glass or something, sure, that should help.
Yeah, 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 I've had a little,
But they
little
won't let
shaking,
me.
little spillage.
Yeah.
That's
So,
just-
but anyway, it's all sorts of stuff. There's other
So
stuff.
they're gonna have snacks.
She ran out of gas.
Have you been over there yet?
So she relies upon our
She
share.
took it.
I'm gonna walk through the building, so I'm sure you'll be.
And her mother said,
I'll probably see you over there. Anyway, well, I'm glad you're. So you got your license?
Say that word.
essential.
No, hers is,
Versus.
We got your license. I'm 29. My doctor, my eye doctor. Oh, yeah. That's a real good one. I used to go there, but I hardly know something. And that's, I think they tested pretty good. The last time I was in there, they gave me a intern to check my eyes, and I didn't like that at all. And then they were gonna make me a coma appointment,
So
and they didn't do it. And so they're about ready to close it. And, well, the afternoon. And so they got me to the anyway, I thought, if they don't care any more than that, I'm on board. Well, it's by Indiana Gardens. I don't like the way you have to get into there, but it's nice. I liked it a lot. Rachel went to, they have a vision center. And they help people that have problems with their eyes, children mostly. And she went there
I've enjoyed this building.
3 years, I suppose, once or twice a week. And
Mr. Alexander, can you hear me?
that, I don't know if
I
it
sure can. Oh, yeah.
Loud and clear?
That loud and clear. And it's not,
Maybe
it's
I
not
don't-
overpowering.
I couldn't hear anything.
Loud and clear.
Jackie, Tuesday, and I could only hear it once in a while, and I couldn't see a thing because someone sat in front of me. I got a good cheap chair and then someone gave me a
Good morning.
Hello, good morning. You want to go to the bathroom yet?
Oh, man.
We have one.
What kind of welcome is that?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's an inside joke.
okay, it's gotta be.
It sounds awful, doesn't it?
My favorite friend. I don't know what to do.
Thanks, sweetie, appreciate it. Oh, you got you some more?
We have a guest today.
Yes. My name's David. Ginger?
From Artesia.
From Artesia, Mexico. Very good. Glad to have you.
You've been dear friends.
I hope you didn't mind me. Life meaning so from birth till the present.
But, yeah, there's see that springtime and fall all over.
Doing okay. See, I'll talk to you in an hour. We'll see how it goes.
After an hour, huh? You got all this down, one right after the other, you know about the building.
Yes, sir.
We were all working on that last night.
What's gonna be the signal? Huh? What's gonna be our signal? Okay, all right. I get that. No, I get that.
No, we better do that.
Hey, Moss. Hey, y'all doing okay?
Good, man. Good to see you.
All right.
Well, did it stop raining?
Oh, yeah.
Cuts out stuff.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, how Abernathy did last night, or this week?
Yes, you know who this is. Ralph Reed. And what?
My name is Matt. Joe and Jerry's daughter. And so I'm kind of keen to some of that people. Those names were so
They all live in three little houses right together.
well, you know, we hear about people that big, we talk about people for years and
So, what type of building? No, I'm where you voted. Oh, where we voted. If you go along the side, we're talking about Casey, the administration building. I don't know.
good Lord, got him over
Right on the north side of the overpass. Right there.
trying to know right now.
And then take a left. Yeah, Casey, the administration, yeah, it's the administration building, yeah, okay. I thought you said we did, we voted and united.
How are you this morning?
I'm doing okay, are you?
I think I am. I've had time to feel myself.
I was telling my daughter I felt like my head was out here as well.
Maybe sinus pressure.
I really have
You
sinus.
know, we were about there and, you know, they had the carts outside.
It was all go to the doctor over there.
Yeah,
So we.
I keep telling them, you'll have to talk me out of today.
Minutes. See, that school building, Casey, that's where I started as But see, it's not an elementary, it's the administration. Yeah, but that's where I started, and David actually taught TP there when he went into
I'm doing fine, how are you doing?
Going right along.
Well, that's important. If you can move along, that's good.
That's what we want right now.
Yeah, we have to be able to move. You look nice.
Thank you very much.
I might ought to move down so somebody can sit on the end if they need it, but I don't know what to do if I walk. I guess I'll just.
Whatever's convenient.
Yeah. Well, at least you're on the same time. Police station in Illinois, and they look and saw that they bought a house, and they rented that out until they got out of moving it down. Well, they already moved down, that's where they. Have you started where you about
too close to the camera.
I'll go ask her. She's over there. Just gotta be a private care facility. She's on hospice. Hey Bob, how y'all doing? Y'all doing okay? All right. That's a good road right there. That is
I try to keep them on the straight and narrow.
I haven't walked in there. It's pretty handy. It's very handy. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Sometimes I'm having to get her Christmas, I'm gonna get her a gift when you first.
Yeah.
She's got to have like a suitcase.
She knows what to get for Christmas then.
And your name sounds well, we faced each other in the hall. Yeah, and that's
I'm terrible. I'm terrible.
I am too. I don't remember.
I can remember faces for years.
More rely on that more and more. All these news critics are had it memorized, so, yeah. You know, Jack, I use Google Maps inside of Lubbock more than I do anything.
I'll never forget what's his face. I'll never forget what's his face.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
I could just barely hear. You can sit here. You're from Roswell?
Well, I've lived in but I'm not.
Okay. Did you know Juanita Campbell in Roswell? She also was a teacher. She's my aunt.
But you're live in there.
Thank you.
That's why. Oh.
I appreciate you going back.
I told the contractor about
You want me to thumb him for you?
Oh, okay. She's gonna interfere. Social Security.
I don't need it. I just asked you.
Good fellowship going on, Jay.
I think I
Well, I think we're going to go ahead and try to get our class kicked off this morning. We have a few announcements to go through. For one thing, we've got a visitor with us this morning. Ginger Reddy, and Ginger is from Artesia, New Mexico. Ginger, thanks for being with us this morning. Just a reminder about a couple of things, and be sure to pick up a bulletin if you would please, because I get most of my reminders out of it. But next Sunday is going to be our Mission Sunday, and Gil Sanchez has been one of our missionaries for a long time. He is from, he supports Casa de la Esperanza. In English, that's the House of Hope in Mexico, and it's an orphanage for not only orphan kids, but abused, abandoned kids. If you get on Google and type that in, it is a wonderful work. It is an amazing work. So I'm real excited to get a chance to meet Gil next week, and for him to share a little bit with us about the work that he does, the work that we're a part of. By the way, next Sunday, time change. But we get an extra hour. We get an extra hour. So next Sunday is time change. Let's go down our list. We've got Patsy Vanderhoof has been moved to a private care facility called Liz's Place, and she continues to be under hospice care. Ann Nixon has asked for prayers for her 13-year-old granddaughter struggling with some issues. Tempe Batten's niece, Carrie Boner, and we think maybe this week she'll find out kind of what her treatment plan's going to be, Tempe, and kind of hopefully, prayerfully get a good plan mapped out for her. Let me make sure I didn't forget anything. Esther James had her procedure, her knee procedure done on Monday, is doing better, recovering, and she's here this morning, according to Sharon, so thankful that went well. Let me make sure I did not leave out anything.
I got something.
Yes.
James Whitson, I think they're putting him on hospice.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he's pretty bad. If you go see him, sometimes he's not really.
So they're putting James on hospice. So
I'll make sure when I go Tuesday.
thanks, Randall. Yeah, boy, he's a wonderful guy. Bob and Janet do a good work every year. They collect magazines, used magazines for Meals on Wheels. And if you'd like to bring them to donate to Meals on Wheels, if you'll just bring them back to class on Sunday mornings, they'll pick them up and take them. So just, Bob, Janet, that's a great thing for you guys, and I know it's something that Meals on Wheels does. I think y'all have done that every year. So if you've got used magazines, please bring them, and they'll get them to Meals on Wheels. Anything else? I missed anything this morning? Yes.
Joanne Davis, used to sit here.
Yes.
That broke her foot. She is in a boot now, and they told her she could put limited weight on it. That's been about 2 months ago that she broke it.
That's been a slow, we've got a long list of people on our prayer list. So Joanne is definitely one of them, especially as extended as her recovery's been. So but that's good news. Betty, thanks for bringing that up. She's hopefully, prayerfully getting a little bit better. Yes, Mary?
Suzanne Myers, she had a procedure done. She's at home recovering. She's had a lot of COVID, being sick, so.
Yeah, just continue to remember Joanne. Bill's here this morning, but just continue to remember Joanne. She's had that procedure done, and she's recovered. She's recovered. Well, let's start the class in word of prayer. Galen, if you'll lead a prayer, please.
Let's go to our Heavenly Father. Dear Lord, first thing we want to always be thankful for is that you sent your Son to die on the cross for us. Help us now as we start our class, center our minds on the thoughts that will be presented to us so that we might learn more and be able to apply them in our lives. Help us to always remember that everything comes from you. Dear Lord, we have a lot of illness and sickness in our class. Watch over these people, bring them back to their health. Thank you so much again for sending your Son to die on the cross. Help us to always remember that you're in charge, you're in control, and that we are just here for a short time. Please come with us. In your Son's name.
One more thing about next Sunday, we will not have an 8 o'clock worship assembly. We'll have a combined class in the auditorium, and Gil's going to teach that class, and then we'll have the one large worship service at 10:30. So class is at 9:15 in the auditorium, and then we'll follow up with a combined worship service. Sorry, Nick.
Good. Can everybody hear me? Do I need to speak a little louder?
No.
Okay, everything's good. Mr. Nixon, can you hear me? Everything's good? All right, let's turn to Genesis. Come on. And I'm in the back days. Let's go to Exodus. Let's go to Exodus chapter 8 through 10 today. We're all very familiar with these chapters. We've read them, we've taught them, so forth. Does this look familiar? You should have received this in the email. Okay? And if you got that email, this is a very good chart in regards to the plagues. So I use this a lot for today's class. All right, does everybody see what? Let me get a little closer to you. Yes? Does this look familiar? You should have received it in your computer. I printed mine out, yes. All right. Mr. Humphrey? Okay. All right. I've got up on the board. Hey, you remember last week, technology let us down? Okay? Technology's not going to let us down today, okay? Unless these markers that I have go dry, okay? If they go dry, then technology goes down with it, okay? But I don't think it's going to happen.
We'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
That's an easy fix.
That's an easy fix. A lot easier than this. Right, Jess? Okay. All right. Group, this is what I'm covering today. I know that's a lot, and I'm just going to hit a few important aspects of this, but let's take a look real quick. Last week, blood all over the country, right? Okay. Then God came with frogs, and it covered the whole country. Yes or no? Yes. Then he came with gnats. How about flies? Many of you have grown up in agricultural settings, right? Where you were around animals. Yes? You know what this means, don't you? Huh? Okay. But think about it. All over the country, as thick as could be. How about the livestock? Was that important? Absolutely. Okay. And then he came with boils. Have you ever had a boil? Yeah? Those aren't fun, are they? Okay? And then he completely wiped out the country with hail, did he not? It says that it stripped down everything, even the trees. Yes? Well, whatever was left, then who cleaned it up? The locusts came in and cleaned it up. And then darkness. Real quickly, let's take a look at this comparison. Plague 1, Plague 4, Plague 7. And I've got them up there. I didn't put a number beside it. Okay? Moses went to Pharaoh in the morning. If you've read this, you know what I'm referring to. Okay? Moses went to Pharaoh in the morning. And in most of the cases, where did he meet him? When he was going to the river. Now, group, if somebody's going to the river early in the morning, more than likely, what's taking place? He's taking a bath, right? Okay, so he's on his way. Moses stops him off, and in 1, 4, and 7, he specifically says to Pharaoh, from God, what's the saying? Let my people go. All right, let my people go. And Pharaoh what?
No.
Goes on with his bath. Plagues 2, 5, and 8. Moses goes to Pharaoh's house to make the inquiry. And then plagues 3, 6, and 9, God does not give any warning. Okay? He does not have Moses go and talk to anybody. What does he do? He just sends it. Okay? Is everybody with me? He just sends it. Okay? I thought that was a good breakdown of the plagues, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. All right, turn to chapter 8. Chapter 8 is the plague of the frogs. Look at verse 8 with me. Just stay with me, okay? I'm going to be going through this rather quickly. Look at verse 8. Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "Pray to the Lord to take the frogs away from me and my people, and I will let your people go to offer sacrifices to the Lord." That's going to become a common phrase for him, is it not? Okay? As long as he can have Moses pray, take this stuff away, then what Pharaoh feels okay about it, does he not? Look at verse 10. When Moses asked him, when can this take place? What is Pharaoh's response? Tomorrow. Is that kind of interesting?
Yes.
All right? Tell me this, okay? And if there's frogs all over the country and in my house and in my everything that we read about, and somebody asks me, when would you like this cleaned up? What would we say? How about immediately? Yes? Yeah. But Pharaoh says what?
Tomorrow.
Let's do it tomorrow. Any thoughts there?
Well, that's the hardening of the heart.
Harden of the heart. Okay. Why? Because remember, Jess mentioned this last week. Okay. Pharaoh thinks that he is right. Okay. Now, as we look through these, we also realize that the Egyptians had their gods for every single one of these. So we have to continue to remind ourselves that what? God is fighting the Egyptian small g gods. Yes?
Yes.
And if you will look on this right here, in the middle, where it says gods of Egypt, every single one of these had an Egyptian god attached to it. That's interesting, is it not? That God attacks every single small g god that Egypt has.
And wins. He wins every time. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Everybody hear that? And he wins. Jess, go.
I think it's interesting that Moses not only says, when do you want these frogs to go away? He doesn't ask him that. He asks him, when do you want me to pray about it?
Okay, good point.
Yeah, it's that so unimportant
Yeah.
at this point. When do you want me to pray about it?
So what does that tell us about Pharaoh?
Pharaoh's not taking this seriously.
He's not, okay? He's not.
He's got his hope that his God's gonna come through.
Yeah.
He gave himself that.
And what did he say?
It's not gonna work.
It's not gonna work, okay? Verse 16. Then the Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron, stretch out your staff and strike the dust to the ground, and throughout the land of Egypt the dust will become gnats. They did this, and when Aaron stretched out his hand with his staff and struck the dust to the ground, gnats came upon men and animals. All the dust throughout the land of Egypt became gnats. Have you been around gnats?
Yes.
They're kind of bothersome, are they not? Because they never go away. Yes? Think about the whole country being swarmed. I mean, they're just all around you. You're swiping them away, and there's just more coming. Okay. Look at verse 19. Verse 19 is important, is it not? The magicians said to Pharaoh, what? This is the finger of God. Because what? Early on, they were able to duplicate, weren't they? Pharaoh's magicians were able to duplicate what Aaron or Moses had done. Guess what? They can't produce the gnats. Okay? And so they say what?
The finger of God.
God. And it's big G, is it not? Okay. So what are they acknowledging there? Their gods aren't up to the task. Okay? And they're not going to win.
Can you imagine having a god to man?
Yeah.
That just blows my mind.
Yeah. They had gods for everything. Okay.
I'm the net god.
Yeah, that would be a great honor, would it not? Yes.
I'm curious if I could put Jess on the spot a little bit.
Mhm.
Which God is this? Jess?
The gnats.
No, the God, it says, this is the finger of God, large G.
Oh.
Is this the,
Jess, we talked about
I haven't looked it up, but I assume this is Elohim.
Elohim.
all right,
Okay.
which one, I mean, which is, what's the meaning of that?
God, that's power.
Yeah.
Power.
Which he's showing here, because they can't reproduce.
And David, that recalls me, under the frogs.
Yes.
When Pharaoh says, pray to the Lord, he doesn't say pray to your God. He says pray to the Lord.
Yes.
He's saying Yahweh there.
There you
So
go.
it's beginning
Which one?
for
Yahweh.
the frogs.
I mean, what verse?
The frogs. Okay.
So there's a beginning as each one of these groups. There's more and more recognition of who Yahweh is, of who the Lord is.
But he still doesn't give
Still
up.
doesn't give up.
He's still stubborn.
So he started with all power and then gradually moved to what understanding? I was trying to follow what Jess was saying there, that the change from God to Lord.
He's sort of back and forth on the terms because he uses the Lord on frogs and then he uses
He uses God.
on the gnats.
Yeah.
So his understanding of God
So
was,
he's trying to get an idea of what exactly is this? What is this power that's coming over us?
Exactly. Even though he doesn't acknowledge it.
right.
Okay. because his heart is hardened. Okay, let's look at verse 22 of chapter 8. I think this is an important part of this section. But on that day, God's speaking here, I will deal differently with the land of Goshen, where my people live. No swarms of flies will be there, so that you will know that I, the Lord, am in this land. I will make a distinction between my people and your people. This miraculous sign will occur when? Okay. All right. Here's my question to the group. Why did God allow the first few plagues to also affect the children of Israel?
Because they'd been there a long time and they were worshiping those gods too.
Did everybody hear that?
No.
Okay, I'm going to repeat it again. We've got to remember that the children of Israel had been in Egypt for hundreds of years, yes? And they had gotten accustomed to worshiping whom? All of these gods that we've been talking about, okay, rather than big G God. They had forgotten about him. So could we say that God is using those plagues to get the attention of the children of Israel and say, hey, I am going to be your God. Rely upon me rather than these small g gods. Is that a fair summary there?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Your thoughts on that.
You just said it. It was excellent.
He's reminding those in control.
He's helping them to realize. Because it says here that what? After this, what happens? Nothing happens to the children of Israel. Remember, they're where? In Goshen, right? None of this happens to them after 8:22. True?
Never thought of that.
Think about that. Okay? But God did do some of the first ones to remind his people, hey, I'm going to be your God, and you're going to see some great things coming. Okay?
David,
Yes. Where are we? Yes. Go.
what's the significance of most of these plagues not killing the other side? It's just this disgusting thing on all the different levels.
Oh, yeah.
There's very little, it's just the little creepy crawlers, it's frogs, everything.
It's just nuisance.
Yeah.
It's nuisance things.
Yeah, but you feel like, I wish I'd be dead, have to sit in this stuff, but no, you don't get off that easy.
Exactly. And I think that was God's plan. Okay? He was saying, hey, I'm just going to bother you just enough, okay, to where you say, oh man, yeah, this God, he's kind of powerful. And I think that's why it's important that beginning at this point, Pharaoh's magicians can't do anymore. And number two, the children of Israel are protected from here on out. Are they not?
So application for today is be grateful for the little things that happen to us. And if that brought us back to God, thank you, Lord, that this happened to us.
Be grateful for what we have, okay, and look more towards God. That's what I heard you say.
And if we do have things that happen that are inconvenient and we don't like, but if it got our attention,
Absolutely.
it was a good thing.
Absolutely. Good, good. Chapter 9, the plague on livestock. Verse 2. If you refuse to let them go and continue to hold them back, the hand of the Lord will bring a terrible plague on your livestock in the field. My version says horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, sheep, and goats. Yes? Anything else? Oxen, okay. But the Lord, again, he reminds them, but the Lord will make a distinction between the livestock of Israel and that of Egypt, so that no animal belonging to the Israelites, what? They're not going to die. Does God do what he says he's going to do? Always. Okay? Always. Verse 8. God, the Lord says to Moses and Aaron, take handfuls of soot from a furnace and have Moses toss it into the air in the presence of Pharaoh. It will become fine dust over the whole land of Egypt, and festering boils will break out on men and animals throughout the land. Mr. Humphrey, when I was reading that, okay, I have always thought, and some of you, I hope, are in the same boat with me, that the boils were just on the people. But in reading this, guess who else had boils all over them? The livestock. I don't know, that's interesting to me.
Tell you what, when you get those boils, I used to get them in high school playing football.
Yes, sir.
In the locker room.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And they're not easy to get rid of.
No, they're not.
Okay.
Messes you up.
It does. Verse 13. I'm moving on. Then the Lord said to Moses, get up early in the morning. Okay, this is one of those early morning interactions. Verse 15. For by now, this is God speaking. Notice what he says. For by now I could have stretched out my hand and struck you and your people with a plague that would have wiped you off the earth. A lot of people say, right? Why did God do 10 plagues? Why? Because that verse right there, God's saying what? I could have done it. I could have done it in one. Right? And there's no doubt that he could. Any comments there?
For this purpose.
Yeah. He kept saying what? So that people will understand that I am the Lord, or that I am God. He keeps saying that. Where are we? Okay. I like verse 18. God says, therefore, at this time tomorrow, I will send what? The worst hailstorm that has ever fallen on Egypt from the day it was founded till now. Have you been in a hailstorm? Have you been in a bad hailstorm? Yep. And we have them around here, do we not? Okay? Because we've seen pictures of homes just completely stripped, right? On the side that the hail was hitting, okay? Some of you have been in agriculture, all right? And you've seen your crops, what? Hit by hail, and what happens to it? On a bad hailstorm, what does the crops look like? It's just mowed down, right? Okay, think about that here, all right? And when God says it's going to be the worst that you have ever seen, does it happen? It's bad. I mean, it just wipes them out. Interesting, verse 20. Well, wait, verse 19. Give an order now to bring your livestock and everything you have in the field to a place of shelter, because the hail will fall on every man and animal that has not been brought in and is still out in the field, and they will what? They will die. Okay, so what's the biggest hailstone that you've seen?
Baseball.
Yeah, big ones. Okay, do they do damage?
Yes.
Big time. Okay, look at verse 20. It's interesting. Those officials of who? Pharaoh, who feared what? The word of the Lord. So there were some that were believing him at this time. Yes? Hurry to bring their slaves and their livestock inside. But those who ignored the word of the Lord left their slaves and livestock, what? Totally exposed out in the field.
I'd like to know what would be classified as inside. Because where they lived and what they lived in, I don't think would protect as well as what we live in. And obviously, it doesn't always protect us either. The only thing I can think of is caves and things like that, but.
Well,
Certainly not a stone.
what I think of is barn. Take them into the barn. Okay. Now, obviously, the hail's going to beat that barn down, but if a barn is built fairly strong, it's going to withstand some punishment. Unless you got a roof on it, and then you have to replace the roof. Like we have to replace roofs here every year. Yes? That was just extra.
The worst hail that's on record anywhere was 3,000 people killed all at once.
Wow.
In about,
And where was that? Do you know, Mr. Dahlstrom?
over around Bangladesh and India.
Oh, okay.
They were out in the fields.
Wow. Yeah.
They're out there setting up all their plants and everything, and this thing came in there and then just beat them to death.
So multiply that by 10, 20 times. That's what we're seeing here. That's the picture that we're seeing here.
I don't think it really mattered because they were acknowledging that he was Lord.
Yeah.
So God took care of that place because
God took care of those people. Yeah. He didn't take care of the ones that just left them out. Okay. Where should we go next? Verse 26. The only place it did not hail was where? Land of Goshen. Who's living there? The Israelites. Okay.
Any Egyptian who could get there.
Yeah.
I'm going to Goshen.
Yeah. Verse 27. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron. He confesses here, does he not? He says, I have what? I have sinned. Okay? So again, I'm seeing a pattern here, okay, that he's getting there, but his stubbornness and his pride just not going to let him get there. Okay?
And he does say this time.
Yeah,
I have sinned, not referring to everything else that's gone.
exactly.
This is a recognition of who God is.
Oh, absolutely it is.
And where we have his heart in him, heart is here, there's where stubbornness comes. Is I know who God is, I know I've sinned, and I don't care.
Did everybody hear that? He's saying that I don't care who this God is, okay? Because I'm more important than him. Okay? I think that's a very important part. That Pharaoh gets to the point where even though he confesses, he says, hey, take all this stuff away. I've sinned, all those things. He continues that hard of heartness because he does not care. Because he wants to be in charge. Look at verse 34. When Pharaoh saw that the rain and hail and thunder had stopped, he did what? He sinned again. He and his officials hardened their hearts. So Pharaoh's heart was hard, and he would not let the Israelites go. What does the last phrase say? Just as the Lord had said through Moses. And that's repeated several times, is it not? God continually told them what? Hey, he's going to harden his heart. Okay? It's not going to get any softer. All right? Just be ready for it. That's why I'm sending all of these reminders, all of these nuisances that we talked about earlier. Chapter 10. As we've said, the locusts come in. Look at verse 2 of chapter 10. Lord says to Moses, that you may tell your children and grandchildren how I dealt harshly with the Egyptians and how I performed my signs among them. And what? And that you may know that what? I am the Lord. Okay? So he's telling the Israelites now, okay, you need to tell your kids, your grandkids, everybody, this is what took place. And you need to do it because I am the Lord. Yes? I am the Lord. Look at verse 6. These locusts, they fill your houses and those of all your officials and all the Egyptians, something neither your fathers nor your forefathers have ever seen from the day they settled in this land till now. Then Moses turned and left Pharaoh. Let's go 10:21. Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand toward the sky so that darkness will spread over Egypt. What does your next few words say?
Darkness which can be felt.
Go. That can be felt.
Reminds me of Carlsbad Caverns when they get you down there and turn the light on.
It gets dark.
Then you feel it.
Total darkness.
Total darkness. Have you ever been in a place like that you've stood and you were afraid to move because, it was so dark that you said, if I move one way or the other, I might bump into something. Yes? We've all had that. Think about this. And how long did it last? 3 times. 3 days. Right? 3 days of complete darkness. Now, what's interesting to me about this part of the story is there's light in Goshen. Is there not?
Yes.
Okay? Now, they didn't have drones then, okay? But you take a drone up when this was happening, and start taking pictures, to me it would have been very interesting to see the dividing line. Yes? All the darkness, Mr. Ritchie, all the darkness up to the land of Goshen, wherever the dividing line was, and then all of a sudden, guess what? It's light. And the Israelites are going about their day just like normal. That would have been interesting to me, to see a drone shot of that.
Even more interesting would be to stand in within a yard of
Oh,
the ocean.
oh, wow.
And you're in total darkness, and you step over the line, hey, so you gotta get eyes, you gotta get adjusted to.
Put your sunshades on.
Yeah.
There's gotta be somebody besides me who's been in Carlsberg Caverns.
Yes.
Okay, in the olden days, they used to shut the load completely off.
Yes, sir.
And you sat down there. And
Yes,
it
sir.
was scary. A lot of people couldn't take it. They had to get outside because they.
Yeah. Think about doing that for 3 days. All right, Greg. All right. I need to get to this and to this real quick, okay? The application that I would like to apply to our class today is this. How are our hearts hardened towards God? We talked about Pharaoh a bunch, but some of us are stubborn.
David, it's just like they did. They made it through that day, so everything's okay. It's gonna be okay.
That's the way we are.
Yeah.
Are we not? Okay. So I ask the question again, how are our hearts hardened towards God? Okay. And is it going to take 10 plagues for us to change? All right.
We need to have that reconciliation with the Lord. I cannot imagine. We are stubborn, we have to change. We have to be submissive.
With you.
Lord, and be humble.
Good. All right. Next week we're in the auditorium on the 10th. Jess will be back, and we will be covering Exodus 11 through 13. All right. Now, I left one out today, right? Okay. Kind of an important one, yes? Okay. I left that for Jess so that he could take care of the bad stuff. Okay? All right? The 10th plague. Notice when you're doing your studying, chapter 11 through 13, how many verses that God assigns to number 10 versus how many short sentences he gave for many of these others. All right? He's fixing to send a very strong message, is he not? Okay, and we'll look at that along with the Passover, which is kind of important. So read Exodus 11 through 13 and prepare for that on the 10th. Thank you for your comments today, and let's continue to move forward. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I know it. That's why I gave you that job. Because I know you can do it.
I told her that she said that, she said, good luck.
how big a hailstorm you saw? I seen the hailstorm bigger than wash tubs. Bigger than what? Bigger than wash tubs. Oh, boy. Me and this other guy, I'm on our way to A&M, go to summer school. And we see this huge black cloud. We're on highway, what is it, where Highway 6 starts. On, I guess 82.